Welcome everyone to the June 7th East Greenbush Central School District Board of Education meeting. Good to see everyone here this evening. Very special night for us. This evening's attendance, we have Ms. Kennedy, Mr. Dunn, Mr. Mann, Ms. Taylor, and myself. If you could please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, everyone. This evening is always a special event for us to honor and recognize many of our staff, the staff who are retiring for their many, many years of service. So we'll get to that soon in our agenda. Next up on our agenda is our student council from Columbia High School, Emma, and a return visitor from last year, Mr. Seeley. How are you?
So we had our Columbian Awards ceremony last Friday to honor some of our students, and Student Council would just like to say a quick thank you to everyone who helped out with this event, and a special thank you to Mrs. McFarland for all of her hard work. Today was our last Student Council meeting of the year. We swore in our new executive and class officers and chose the homecoming theme, which will be Under the Sea. Columbia High School graduation for the class of 2023 will be held on June 24th at 10 a.m. at Hudson Valley Community College. And finally, our new Board of Executive Council members will be starting to plan freshman orientation for the class of 2027. And you may see that Rowan isn't here with me today. Unfortunately, he had a conflict that couldn't be rescheduled, but I just wanted to take a minute to recognize all of the hard work that he put into Student Council, and he was just elected as president for next year today. So that's pretty exciting.
Congratulations.
And I also want to say a quick thank you to our other executive council members. They always ensure that the events Rowan and I talk about here are successful, and we could not have done it without them. Thank you to our wonderful advisors, Ms. Dyer and Ms. Shira. Our student council program would not be what it is today without everything they do. And a quick thank you to Ryan Seeley, who set me up for success from the beginning, and I could not have asked for a better president to learn from. So thank you.
We do have a recognition certificate for you, Emma, if you want to stick around. If you have to leave, that's okay. We'll get it to you. Okay. You're just hiding in the back. Okay, good. All right. Next, we have our minutes, board members. We do not have a quorum for board minutes due to some attendance. So I guess that we move that to the next meeting, if that's okay. All right. Now we'll move to the board forum, an opportunity for our board members to talk about anything that's on their mind. Joanne, I'll start with you. Anything?
Just a quick congratulations to all our retirees for the years of service and dedication you've given to our district. There are a lot of people out here who put a lot of years in, and we appreciate all you've done. Emma, thank you for your work here. We've enjoyed getting all the information from Student Council.
Thanks, Joanne. Mark?
Echo what Joanne says. Yes. Thank
First.
you, everybody.
Thank you, Mark. John?
Good.
Sure.
Good.
And I am as well. Looking forward to the recognition in a few minutes. We'll now move to our public forum. Residents, students, employees, and business representatives of the East Greenbush Central School District may address the board on matters concerning programs and/or operations in the district other than matters involving personnel. Members of the board do not directly respond to citizen concerns during the public forum. If a response is appropriate, either the president or superintendent will contact the individual in the near future. Those persons who wish to address the board will be recognized by the chair of the meeting and should state for the record the name, address, or affiliation with the district or business. While the board does not wish to infringe upon free speech protections, it must be stressed the visitor's forum is not deemed to be an open forum. The board president will conduct the forum for the orderly and efficient operation of board business. In addition, any remarks which be considered defamatory or stigmatizing are prohibited and will be declared out of order. All comment shall be limited to 5 minutes. Is there anyone who'd like to address the board at this time? No? Yes.
Good evening. My name is Bonnie Roy. I am a lifelong resident of the district and of the East Greenbush Central School District. I have worked here for about 38 years. At this time, we have 4 employees that will be retiring from the Transportation Department. And I would like to honor, first of all, Elizabeth Roberts, AKA Betty. Betty has been a valuable employee of the district for 20 years. She has worked as an aide for children that have special needs And a few minutes is really not enough time to talk about all the things that Betty has done for our children and our district. I am willing to bet that Betty can remember every student that she has worked with. They all hold a special place in her heart, and it's rare in this world that we find someone that is so giving of themselves as Betty. I have the privilege to have Betty's grandson on my bus this year. So yesterday I asked him, I said, tell me something about your grandmother, like one word or whatever that you could say about her. And he said, my grandmother is very hardworking. And that sums up Betty in a nutshell. Not only is Betty a wonderful aid to our children, she is also a volunteer for Meals on Wheels. She happened to be the person that took care of my grandmother when she got older. And my grandmother could not wait for Betty to show up and have a little visit with her, because not only did she deliver the meals, she visited and she made sure that all of her clients were in good health. Betty may only be about 4'11", but her heart is bigger than the world. And that is what the transportation will miss the most about Betty. It is with the utmost sincerity that I wish Betty the best of luck on her retirement in Florida. We have 3 drivers that will be retiring this year. Patty Torres. Marilee Jorgensen. And Steve Brady, who will not be with us tonight. Patty has worked for the district for 13 years. Marilee has worked for the district for 28 years. And Steve has worked for the district for 10 years. I happen to have the pleasure to go to Columbia High School all 4 years with these 2 women. And it's unbelievable that we're able to retire at 42 years old. So Steve is actually only a year or 2 older than us. And if the old timers that are here remember a place called Whipbeck's, I'm sure a few of you do. There we go. I spent many, many Saturday nights at bonfires with Steve Brady. These 3 co-workers that I have are just the most wonderful co-workers in the world. And we're really, really going to miss and cherish the time that they spent with us. Congratulations to all the drivers too.
Thank you for sharing a little about your colleagues and honoring them separately. So it's so good to see that so many of our staff who are part of the community, grew up in the community, and share so much of themselves with our families and our community. And it's great to hear those stories. So thank you. Anyone else like to address the board this time? No? Okay. Seeing no more folks looking to speak at the public forum, we'll turn over to Mr. Simons for the reports and presentations.
Good evening, everyone. As Mr. Buno has indicated in his opening remarks, this is a very special night for our school district and our Board of Education. It is always an honor for me as the superintendent of the schools district to recognize and honor not only our retirees, who are, many of us are here this evening, but also the members of our district who are receiving tenure award this evening, as well as recognizing our participants in the mentor program, including our mentors and mentees. So without further ado, I want to talk a little bit about those individuals who are being recognized this evening and being awarded tenure. Several years ago, New York State increased the tenure requirements for teachers and teaching assistants and administrators. It used to be a 3-year period, probationary period, in order to earn tenure. Now it is a 4-year period. And the standards of evaluation also increased in terms of the process that we use to evaluate, to make a determination that I review and I recommend to our Board of Education that an individual who has served our district during that 4-year period is worthy of tenure in the East Greenbush Central School District. So it is a challenging process to earn tenure. It is not an automatic, certainly is not an automatic in the East Greenbush Central School District. And the standards have increased by the state. And in East Greenbush, we have always held our employees to a very high standard of excellence. So the individuals who are being honored this evening and receive recognition from our board are well deserving of the recognition that they're receiving this evening. In addition, I can't think of a more challenging time in which many of you entered the professions that you chose to either be a classroom teacher, an administrator, or a teaching assistant. Many of you were hired in 2019-20. What happened in March of 2020? Our world changed. We shifted to a remote instruction plan. The next year we had a hybrid plan. Last year we wore masks for most of the school year, 2 years ago. And then this year is really our first normal year. So not only are the standards high for earning tenure, but the conditions in which you have served our district were really very challenging. And across the country, many people chose to leave education, but you stuck it out. You met the standard. You overcame some of those challenges, and we were really appreciative of the fact that you have served our district so well. Additionally, I want to thank your family members who may be here with you or thinking about you at home. It's very important for those that work in public education to have a strong support system. Your parents, your family members, your brothers and sisters, your children, whoever you go home to rely on for support, they're an important part of this process as well. And so those of you who came tonight, we are very, very appreciative. So I'd like to start by recognizing those individuals who have been acknowledged, evaluated, supported to the point that they are now being recommended by me as the superintendent of schools for tenure in the East Greenbush School District. We'll start with our members of the East Greenbush Administrators Association. First, we have Sarah Hoffman, assistant principal at Goff Middle School. Sarah? Our next individual had received tenure in the district as an administrator, having served as a director of pupil personnel services for many years in the district. And she decided to take a risk to start over again and to become the principal at Red Mill Elementary School. And she's done a terrific job. Helen Squatchy. Now we recognize those teachers who are being recommended for tenure this evening. Our first member of the East Greenbush Teachers Association is Alyssa Bresnak. Alyssa? Our next teacher is Emily Cook, Science. I'm not sure if your dad's proud or not.
Third generation teacher.
Very good. Awesome. Leanne Dietrich, speech. Nice job. Nice job. Megan Helmrath, elementary. We're going to recognize our next teacher, but I don't believe that she's here this evening. Kara Horton, elementary. She just had a baby. I believe Kara also is receiving tenure in a second area for the district. Is that true? She was in special education and now she's in elementary and she's being a mom, new mom right now. In elementary, Julia Kioski. Christopher Labarge, elementary. Another individual who decided to make a change and shift tenure areas and is receiving tenure for the second or the third time, I'm not sure, Lisa Mahar. Congratulations. Good job, Lisa. In the area of foreign language, Marna McMorris. Nice job. Very nice. In the area of elementary, Kelly Panashi. Congratulations, Kelly. Great job. Ashley Pratt, elementary. Congratulations. Melanie Schmidt, mathematics. Congratulations, Melanie. Great job. So if we could have a nice round of applause for all of our teachers receiving tenure this evening. Teaching assistants have always been critically important. They are invaluable to supporting our students and our staff within our schools. Teaching assistants often work with the children that require the most support. They do that with tender care, they do it with love, and they do it with a lot of skill. So to be a teaching assistant is a very challenging position. I don't know what we would have done in the last 4 years with all the challenges that we had without our teaching assistants, who are members of school-related personnel. So at this time, I'd like to recognize all of our teaching assistants who are being recommended to be awarded tenure this evening. And we'll start with Estelle Craven. Jennifer Davis. Donna Diedrich. Heidi Edwards. Jessica Fowler. Joelle Ruger. Okay, well, we recognize all of our teaching assistants and congratulations on receiving tenure, and we appreciate all of the work that you do to support our students. So that concludes all of our tenure recipients. How about one more round of applause? Next, we'll move on to our retirees. I think it goes without saying that this is a very bittersweet moment for the district and hopefully for you and your families. Many of you have served our students and our community for a very long time with distinction. Those of you who have worked with us for so long and so well, you will be missed, but please know that you are always a part of the East Greenbush family. We hope that you will stop by. We hope that many of you will get on our substitute list because we really need good people to substitute. So maybe give it a day or two and then talk to Marissa and sign back up for substitute employment. Our first person to be recognized for tenure works very closely with me. She's been, excuse me, what did I say? Tenure. Well, we're not going to give you tenure tonight. Linda Wager has been our Director of Business and Finance for the last 3 years. She's been an employee of the district for 20 years, serving as treasurer. We honored Linda the other night at a private gathering. But Linda Wagger has done a terrific job for our district, so congratulations, Linda, on your retirement. We could give you tenure if you wanted. Congratulations, Linda. Good job. This individual worked for the district in his role as the athletic director for 20 years. He left us in September, I believe, but he never really left us. He's back this evening, and he continued to be a support in the community. Mike Leonard. Bus driver? He just said he wanted to apply to be a bus driver. Now we turn to retirees from the CSEA. Some of these names have been mentioned by our transportation department this evening, but we'll mention them again. Steve Brady. Kathleen Corliss. Ron Cray. David Garofalo. Marilyn Gorman. Timothy Hurt. Tim worked at the central office in the evenings, and he'd often say to me, "Are you going to get out of here so I can get in your office and take care of things?" And, or sometimes I'd pop in on when he was vacuuming and scare the life out of him. So Tim and I know one another pretty well. Congratulations. Marilee Jorgensen. Mike Rowe. Patricia Torrey. At this point, we recognize those members of the East Greenbush Teachers Association, our teachers who are retiring this year. And we'll begin with Susan Blond. Sandra Kroll. Sean Kroll. Both of the Krolls sent a nice thank you email to myself and the board. They're celebrating their daughter's birthday this evening, so that's an important special event. Melissa DuPont. Christine Dashinsky. Kathleen Fitzgerald. Maggie Glennie. Patricia Leroy. Mary Kay Oswald. Thank you. Ellen Shermer. Anthony Servidone. License coach, thank you so much for your service. Ruth Van Elstein. Congratulations. So let's have another round of applause for our retired teachers. Members of our school-related personnel who are retiring and who we honor this evening. Anne Marie Balzer. Well, I saw Maggie Glennie just arrive, so we're going to honor Maggie Glennie as a retiring music teacher. Congratulations. Moving back to school-related personnel, Chip Balzer. Carol Clifford. Deborah Corbett. Congratulations. I see you're on the sub list. That's good. Jill Frankowski. Congratulations. Thank you for your service. Deborah DiMartino. Thank you for your Thank you. Sandra Giordano. Congratulations, Sandy. Thank you. Thank you. Patricia Gregorowski. Darcy Mancino. Wayne Morrow. Laura Nolan. Congratulations. Thank you so much for your service. Kathleen O'Leary. Elizabeth Roberts. Lynn Ronan. Marianne Smith Wilhelm. That concludes all of our employees who are being awarded retirement, and that is an award, retirement, for all the years of service that you have provided the district. There are many, many instrumental activities that you were involved in, and you had a tremendous impact on kids. And again, as I said earlier, please remember that you're always part of the East Greenbush family, and visit us often, and just remember to stay connected with our school district. So thank you for your service to the district on behalf of the district and the Board of Education. When we hire new teachers in New York State, they are required by New York State Education Department regulations to participate in a mentor program. And we happen to have a wonderful mentor program coordinated by one of our East Greenbush retired teachers, Melissa Gilligan, and overseen by our Assistant Superintendent for Curriculum Instruction, Mr. Stiles. So at this point, we're going to name the mentees, the teachers who have participated in the mentor program, and their mentors. I want to thank both groups because you have participated in extra activities beyond your responsibilities in the classroom. In particular, you've grown, you've learned, you've progressed to the point where you have completed the program. I thank the mentors for giving back to the profession and giving your extra time and your expertise to support our newer teachers. So at this point, we will name the mentee and their mentor. First, Julianne Armbruster. Julianne Armbruster. And she was mentored by Leslie Rett. Felice Devine. And Felice is mentored by Sarah Lucier. Congratulations, Felice. Nice job. Thank you, Sarah. Gianna De Gregorio, mentored by Maria Fontaine. Congratulations. Thank you. Megan Jankowiak, mentored by Ron Montesi. Renee Kanzler, mentored by Ida Marie Lindberg. Zachary Kuhn, mentored by Kevin Lehane. Jennifer Selkirk, mentored by Lelena DeMarco. Congratulations, thank you. Meryl Tremblay, mentored by Allison Milazzo. Noah Weiss, mentored by Chris Hosley. Kate Wargula, mentored by Allison Hosier. Congratulations. Thank you. So let's have a nice round of applause for our mentees and our mentors. Is there anybody here that we have not called? Which means that I screwed up. All right, well, that's good. At this point, we now want to thank our representatives of Student Council. Emma is here, and Rowan was not able to be here. Emma Marshoni is a terrific student leader. I know not only of her through her work in coming to the board meetings, but also the impact she's had on our class of 2023 and all the activities that she does. I know that the board appreciates hearing from the Student Council, and I know that the district appreciates all you do as a student leader to impact the positive climate at Columbia High School. So thank you from the district, and thank you from the board, Emma, for serving in this role and for making a difference in East Greenbush. And Rowan Butterfield could not be here this evening. Rowan will be the president next year. Is that correct, Emma? He is also a terrific student leader, and we want to thank Rowan for keeping our board informed about what's going on at Columbia High School, but also for, again, having a positive impact with other students, the faculty, and the climate at Columbia High School. So one big more round of applause, one more big round of applause for all of our recipients. Congratulations to everybody, and thank you. You are welcome to stay for what will be the most intriguing, action-packed board meeting that you'll ever participate in. I promise you excitement galore, or you're welcome to excuse yourself.
And we're taking a break.
And we're going to take a break to have a little reception.
Okay, we're going to get started with our board meeting. Thank you, everyone. Enjoy. Thank you for sticking around and enjoying the refreshments. So we'll go back in session. And Mr. Simons, you're still on?
Yes, thank you, everybody, for attending, and congratulations. We're going to move to our next item on the agenda. The board is aware that during the course of the current school year, the middle school has been engaged in a process to look at several issues within the school, including how can they continue to serve our middle level students as well as they can. As part of that process, they have been looking at data. They have also participated in visitations to other middle schools. And they have also received, through the support of the board, some staffing to enable some exciting changes to occur next year. So Mr. McHugh and a team from Goff are here to present some of the information that they have been considering and some exciting changes they're looking forward to next year. So Mr. McHugh.
Good evening. I just want to use the laser. I never had an opportunity to do that before, so I'm done now. Really brief, just, you know, I think it is important. We are looking at our data. We pull our quarterly reports. We pull our absenteeism. But from the beginning of the year, that first number is, it should be from the beginning of the year, or I'm sorry, mid-year, January 27th, we had about 10.6% of our students were chronically absent by definition, that 10% of the school days or more. We looked at that report again, May 31st, and we had 150 students that were chronically absent, which is about 15.3% of our students. The interventions that we have done, even with our professional visitations, the interventions are pretty much the same interventions that everybody is doing. We send the attendance letters home. We're making phone calls. We're having parent email or parent meetings and emails. We're doing home visits. Our guidance counselors have been out. Our social workers have been out. Our school resource officer has been out. Our administrative team has been out. The one thing that is new this year, we have been afforded the advantage of having a Rensselaer County family intervention specialist, and that person has also been out. There are certain guidelines and restrictions for that position. Once there is a PPS or a PINS filed, that family intervention specialist cannot be involved anymore. So she has been really useful, making some relationships and connections with families, providing transportation, or removing any barriers that might inhibit somebody from coming to school, whether it's a medical visit or any kind of things that may not be covered by the county. Unofficially, she has that ability to do that. We did push out a parent communication square emphasizing that attendance matters. We also have involved CPS and probation. That's really different than it was 5 or 6 years ago, getting CPS or PINS involved. Just to look at our discipline referral, this is a breakdown for the first 3 months of school and then right up until June 1st. So during the first 3 months of school, we had 17 referrals for harassment or bullying. We had 17 more from December 1st through June 1st. Inappropriate behavior, the first 3 months, we had 4. And then, the last 7 months of school, 6 months of school, we've had 11. Fighting, the numbers are right there. And then acts which threaten the safety of others. And those vary quite a bit, from pushing, tripping, threatening other students. So you see the total numbers. And then just consequences, things that we have been doing, reprimands, but it's important to recognize that all referrals also include a reprimand. So some of the discipline referrals just get a reprimand, but anything else, if it's lunch detention, it also includes a reprimand. If it's in school, out of school, also includes a reprimand. So you see the numbers for the first 3 months of the year, and then you see the last 6 months. So the discipline has definitely increased, the number of referrals and consequences, lunch detentions, after school, in school suspension, out of school suspension, and we've had 2 superintendent's hearings. Shouldn't have given me this remote. Sorry about that. Just our student enrollment numbers. This is our current enrollment, 978 students total. We have 295 students that'll leave us and go to the high school, and we're looking at 298 students coming in next year. So we're seeing an increase of around 3 students. We're pretty steady. That enrollment number is important when we start looking at our course failures. So here's our course failure by grade, by quarter. But then it's important to recognize that, you look at the course failures and you see those numbers, but then you see the number of students that actually failed the course. So, it's in the quarter 1, it was 3.8% of our 6th graders that actually failed the course. You can see the numbers went up to 6.7 and then back down to 6%. That second quarter is usually, you do see that increase from the first quarter. The rigor increases as well. But, I'll kind of summarize a couple bullet points on here. We do track our course failures by subject. We track it by grade. We track it by teacher. So we know where they're occurring. We've tried a lot of different interventions, but you see some equity there really between the math and the ELA. Those are the 2 big ones. And then you see the science, social studies, and world language. Just a quick summary of that. What do we find when we look at our course failures? We know that we have a small group of students that are failing multiple courses. So, we don't have a lot of students that are just failing one. We see patterns where we have students that are failing, all of them, 3 of them. We see that. There's a large majority of our students that are failing courses. They're also our chronically absent students. So attendance does matter. they're not coming to school, they're not passing their courses. We also see about 1/4 of our students that are failing courses also have substantial discipline referrals. So, that's a common occurrence too. The kids are frustrated. There's other things that impact their learning. So the significant factors we know we have, that is attendance matters. The kids that are missing school or not passing their courses, mental health and wellness. We've had kids that have been outplaced this year. We have approximately 10 students that missed a substantial amount of school for mental health and wellness issues. Student engagement, we know that matters too. We know that the students that aren't engaged in the curriculum are not putting that effort in. They're not participating in class. So trying to increase that student engagement, knowing that the attendance matters, trying to get kids to school. And the mental health thing is something that we're all battling. We've seen a definite increase since COVID, and I haven't seen that really start to dissipate yet. Those numbers are still there. Mr. Newman's going to speak to the middle school symposium. This is something that we participated in this year. 10 capital region districts and 12 middle schools participated.
Thank you. Yes, like I said, 10 capital region districts came, 12 middle schools. To go, you had to fill a folder with your demographics, a copy of your master schedule, what your course requirements are, your course descriptions. So you can go there. So, and they made a file for all of us. So what was nice is I still have a reference of Ballston Spa Middle School and their classes, how they're working things, so if we do decide changes, you're not always having to start from scratch. You can see what works for other people. What we really found there that day is everybody's pretty similar, right? We all have the same, we all had a lot of the same challenges, a lot of different, when the schedule differed, maybe block scheduling versus single classes. But what we did find out is, there's some contractual differences that they can do, but a lot of the times we're thinking the same things, teaming as a priority, which I want to thank everybody for helping us get there with that. A couple things that I took away from that is when we went, I was the only team of one that went. A lot of people had they had academic administrators, they had guidance counselors, they had teachers that came. And that's something we plan on changing for next year. A lot of times I'll go and I'll work on making the schedule and I'll have teachers come down and say, does this work for the special ed department? Does this work for the math department? But I think we need to be more proactive than reactive. So that's something we're going to talk to some teachers about, starting a scheduling committee for next year. Many schools are doing things that we've done before and gotten away from and can go back to. They alternate schedules that, different times of the day, so kids aren't moving all at the same time. It's something we've looked at before. And if we get closer to full teaming in the school, that's a definite possibility. And other schools like Hackett and Albany, they lowered their discipline referrals by 80% by just doing that, limiting movement, number of students in the hallway, because that's where we find a lot of the problems. A couple of nice things. We made some connections. I met the principal at Niskayuna Middle School is a new teacher. They have the same 9-period schedule we do, and we've been in contact to show them some things that we do and some ideas that they have regarding high school credits. Mount Pleasant Middle School wants to come take a look at our MAP program, which we were one of the only schools that had that alternative program. So a lot of schools have been reaching out and wanting to hear more about that, which has been excellent. So we did take a lot from that, and it did help drive some decisions we made this year.
We went on 3 professional visitations this year, and each time we sent a different team of teachers out. It averaged about 16, the group of 16. There was a lot of positive takeaways. We have some teachers here that participated as well. A lot of the feedback was that it was one of the more positive experiences that they've had as an educator, going out and having that collegiality, having that professional interaction with schools. Some of the things too is that the grass isn't always greener on the other side. We saw a lot. We saw a lot of things that we may have that are better. We see some things that are a little more advantageous for students. One of the things, and Mike experienced as well in the middle school symposium, is there are New York State NYSED, New York State Education Department requirements for middle schools. There's a lot of middle schools that aren't meeting those requirements. Those are tough to hit. So the first professional visitation was Bethlehem Middle School. I led that first visitation. It was back on February 7th, 2023. Just a couple takeaways. very similar to Goff's Team Time. They just call it something different. It's a structured study hall that emphasizes self-advocacy, and the entire grade level has that study hall, that home base at the same time. So that's a scheduling thing, but that is really beneficial and powerful because you can increase your collegiality and your professional dialogue, your planning, when people have that same common planning time built into the schedule. But they do the same thing with it. All their pullouts occur during that home base, their occupational therapy, PT, the response to intervention, band, orchestra, very similar to us. 2 accelerated options, and again, that's a New York State requirement that you have to have 2 accelerated options. We have mathematics, algebra 1, and we have earth science. Bethlehem has mathematics and art, DDP, design, draw, and production. We've talked about that quite a bit. We think that there is a possibility that we could add that option in the future. But their phys ed classes are mixed gender. We're going to talk about that a little bit. The majority of middle schools do have mixed gender physical education. We do not. We are moving towards that. Our high school has mixed gender phys ed. So there's a lot of benefits to do that. It does ease a little bit of the scheduling concern, but there are some other things too that are advantageous if we did move towards that. They have the 3 houses. Each house is mixed. We see a lot of that. So it's not a 6th grade house, a 7th grade house, or an 8th grade house. It's a 6 through 8. It's kind of the concept of a school within a school. It's a smaller school within the school. Still challenged by the impact of COVID. So all the things that we're talking about, chronic absenteeism, academic loss, everybody's experienced that. That's the same everywhere. Social media junk, that's something that occupies our time quite a bit. And again, it is something that has been a challenge for them. The one thing I did like is they have a different policy. Their cell phones have to be out of sight. So it's kept in their lockers during the academic day. So that is something that we should consider. Right now they have their phones on them and, they're supposed to be off, but they're not off. They're underneath the desk. They're on the phones, but Bethlehem has a policy where they're kept in their lockers. They also have the 6th instructional period, scheduling priority. And they talk about this a lot. Their scheduling priority is to reduce the amount of unstructured time for students within the bell. So they don't want to make the travel far. That's where the trouble occurs. And they just kind of want to minimize that unscheduled, unstructured time. Teachers are in the hallways during transitional times. That's culture, climate, right? Providing flexibility within their bell schedule. They do some creative work. If there's an ELA, for example, an ELA and social studies teacher that want to really work together and have that double period, kind of moving toward a partial block schedule, they try to allow that too. So they would have a double period where the 2 teachers are working together. They talked about the way they start their scheduling process, math, world languages, special education. It's important to start with special education. That gets a little tricky. Something that they do that's a little different, their special education students don't take a world language until 8th grade. But in 8th grade, they take a full year of it. Continuum of services, this is the options that they have. We have more options here. That was something that we noted. Their acceleration process starts in grade 6. Chronic absenteeism, they do the same thing. They're looking at the same thing. They're doing the same interventions that we're doing. So very similar. Something that was really worth a look is for their mental health, they created a tier 1 set of interventions that should be done and implemented in the classroom. So every classroom is working on the tier 1 interventions for mental health, for social emotional learning. So we're working on that district-wide, but that is something that they have implemented. Another thing that is worth a look that we thought was worth looking at, they have a work recovery day. So for students during week 9 of the marking period, students who are failing a course due to incomplete work, those students go to the library for the day, and they have some of their teachers, they get coverage for their teachers, and the teachers work with those students in the library for a work recovery day, just trying to get the work completed so that they can get that grade where it needs to be. So definitely worth a look. That's a great strategy. Here our kids can fail quarters, but a lot of kids get promoted. A lot of kids fail the midterm, they fail the final exam, they fail 2 or 3 quarters during the year, yet they still get promoted to the next grade. So when he gets to the high school, Mr. Harkin and his team, they're challenged with making sure that the kids do pass those 5 required regions. So the work recovery day, for me, that's important because it levels the accountability. If the kids don't want to do the work, they don't get the home support, at least they're going to sit in that library and do a work recovery day and complete the work. So definitely worth looking at. Their academic day, those are the times, but the last 45 minutes of the day, teachers don't have scheduled classes, but the students can get extra help. The teachers are there. So length of work day, there's a lot of contractual factors that we found in all these professional visitations. And then I'll turn over to Mr. Newman, who facilitated the second visit.
Thank you. I want to echo what Mr. McHugh said, that we got there. What I really found out, my big thing is that we're doing a lot of really great things. We get there, they call things differently, but we're doing a lot of these things. Some things that we thought we could look at, some takeaways from the March 29th visit, where they operated on a 9-day period, which is just like ours, but they did have mods. They had 13 different times in the day where students were moving. So if you're on team 6-1, you moved at this schedule, but 7-2 moved here. Like we talked about, changing times, less students in the hallway. Teachers' contractual day was longer. Same thing, we're trying to, teaming of teachers is the priority in decision making. One thing that they do that I've seen a couple other districts when I was at that scheduling symposium was that their 8th grade teams were, or excuse me, 6th grade teams were made up of 2 teachers that co-teach. So one teacher did English and social studies, one teacher did math and science, and they worked in 2-person teams instead. Something that I thought I liked, a couple things they brought up, is the only self-contained special education classes that they had there are life skills classes. Every other student other than students that would need to be in the equivalent of our life skills class are in full inclusion. Another one that I highlighted, a couple that I thought that we could look at in the short term, was they use this program. It's called Schools to Watch. And it's, I want to say it's similar to like our No Place for Hate, where there's some qualities you have and you can become on, there's 200 middle schools nationwide that are on this list. And there's a rubric that I have some copies to share with you guys, and it helps drive their decision making. So it was something I was going to look into, seeing more at that. And it's helps you to see that the different topics inside of it were academic excellence, developmental responsiveness, social equity, and organization. And there's different categories within each to see, are we doing these things and what could we be doing better? It's a self-assessment. And if you have there's a coordinator in each district that lets you know if you are meeting these things, categories. They accelerate 1/3 of their students successfully. We talked about that in math, and I was a former math teacher. I taught the accelerated class when I was teaching. I was like, doesn't that affect you as you get up into high school, having these students? And they say no. They've accelerated 1/3 of their students successfully. They use the iReady assessment, like we're using the STAR assessment now, to determine which students should be in there. And there are no quarterly grade requirements within that. Like right now, our students keep 85 average in the class to make sure that we want to achieve mastery with ours. So different ways of thinking about that. They don't begin accelerated until 8th grade. That's something also we could look at, but that means that, so they heterogeneous classrooms right up until they have to accelerate. Really looking at different ways. I know we've been talking about it for a few years, different ways to offer high school credits in the middle school. They use a period 0 to allow students for studio art. One other thing that I really like that they did, that we actually try to implement sooner than that, is for their backpack program. Within their backpack program, which is the program we have for the weekends to make sure we send Foonhoven students for the weekend, a lot of times the only students that we're finding are students that we know of or have asked or somebody's reached out about. But we could be missing students. So something that they did that I talked to both of our social workers about is having these QR codes all over the school. And students can take their phones out when not supposed to, but they have them out, and different places, and they can scan it, and it brings them right to the survey that we use for the students to get them, and it's anonymous, without having to come down and ask for it. So they can, different ways to do that, and they have these posted all over Farnsworth Middle School. And I thought this was something that we could implement in the very short term. So this is actually the QR code to the Goff Middle School backpack program. All of the PE classes there are mixed gender. All right, thank you. And Sarah did the visit to Shaker Middle School.
Jim, Sarah, and Mike, what are the sizes of those schools? Bethlehem's, Farnsworth, and the next one, roughly students?
Shaker's a little bit bigger. They have, yeah, they're bigger. They have probably over 1,000 students, maybe 1,200 students in the whole school.
Yeah, Bethlehem and Farnsworth are very similar to ours.
900. Okay, thanks.
So I attended the Shaker visit, which was very nice with the group of teachers that went with me. The one thing that they really highlighted was their social emotional learning practices and the restorative practices that they're implementing within the district. They have an assistant superintendent that has been professionally trained in restorative practices. So they do a lot of in-house professional development that is led by their assistant superintendent. And so they're getting pretty good traction on that, in speaking with the teachers and the administrators on that day. They're also focusing on teacher leadership. They want teachers to take more of a part in leading building initiatives and giving them the freedom to lead their own initiatives with a group of teachers that they would like to be on different committees. They do have 9 periods a day, which is similar to ours. Their time for students is from 8 to 3, but then teachers stay an additional half an hour Monday through Thursday to do professional development, department meetings, or to meet with students. So again, as Mike and Jim have mentioned, that comes into some contractual conversations within our district, but the teachers do stay. And then on Fridays, they do just leave at regular dismissal. Similar to Goff, they have 20-minute lunches opposite a study hall or an AAS period, and they have an AB rotation similar to our white and blue day rotation. So as I mentioned, teachers stay till 3:30 to help with students. One thing that they, I don't know if some of you are familiar with Shaker Middle School, they did a big renovation of their building. And when they renovated their building, they renovated with this idea of these innovation labs. So there are 6 different classrooms that have a specific focus, and each classroom has a teacher that is on special assignment. And they pick these teachers based on their interests or their craft or something they're very passionate about. And every 6th grader does a 6-week rotation in each innovation lab. So they experience things like in a makerspace or clean tech, coding. They have health and wellness, mindfulness. And so we visited some of those classrooms, and it was pretty impressive, I have to say. And you have these teachers who are very passionate about what they do, and they're kind of given the freedom to bring these students in. And it's all project-based learning, but the teachers also collaborate with other core departments. So they tie in the curriculum that the students are learning at that particular time. And it was very nice. It was very cool. And this is in addition to those students having their encore. So they're still taking art and home and careers and technology in addition to this. And one other thing that I found interesting was that these teachers on special assignment within the 6-week rotation, they also have 6 weeks where they're not teaching, but they're collaborating with other teachers in the building to create new projects that are aligned to core curriculum or the next gen standards. So they do have high school electives at Shaker. They have earth science, algebra, DDP, and studio art. And they also have an 8th grade music credit for high school credit. Math, interestingly, I found this interesting, accelerates starting in 6th grade, but science only begins acceleration in 8th grade. When they do their acceleration, there is no placement test. Math uses iReady to determine where students are at for the acceleration program, and it's primarily based on teacher recommendation. They also have department level coordinators that handle all the acceleration, so they ultimately decide which students would be in the accelerated program. They move as a cohort in grades 6 through 8. They use a combination of restorative and punitive practices, which I feel we do at Goff Middle School with our social workers and our school counselors. They have a BAR program, which is a building assets reducing risk. That's part of the SEL lessons that they're putting forth in their district. Another thing that we found interesting is that each building principal is given $2,000 to fund a club that is not like would be our Appendix D. And that would be for students who have new ideas that want to do a club, and maybe they find a teacher and a group of other kids that want to do something different. Thank you.
Thanks. So just a little bit about the visitations. Each team was different for each visitation, but we met at Goff Middle School in the morning. We got on an East Greenbush Central School District bus together as a group, went to each school, and then we left. We had lunch, and then we had that collegial conversation, professional dialogue about what did we see, what did we like, what do we want to know more about. We had tremendous interest. We tried to get equity amongst our teams and have representatives from our teaching assistants, our monitors, our security officers, our typists, our classroom teachers. We did have enough interest that we were working on a 4th visitation to Mount Anthony School District in Bennington, Vermont. That's an all-inclusive school. We thought it just would be out of the box. They have a lot of things where they have a teen center, the school's open almost 24/7, dentist, doctor, they come to the school. So we were close to getting that locked up. It got too close to the end of the year, so it is something that we might do this fall. But a lot of our discussion this year, you know, when we talk about establishing a shared vision and what we are about as a middle school, but more importantly, you know, a lot of times we say things like we're student-centered. So we've had a lot of conversation about if we are student-centered, what does that look like? What would people see? How would they know we were student-centered? What are the behaviors that everybody in that building model on a daily, consistent basis? So we've done a lot with making sure that we honor traditions at Goff Middle School and embracing some change. You know, what's next? Some things we immediately have emphasized the importance and the value of true teaming. We are restoring true teaming in grade 6, and we're working to make that happen in grade 7 and 8. We looked at classroom locations, and we're moving some folks around for next year. That's not always a welcomed news, but we want to minimize that travel. We don't want kids walking from one end of the building or one end of the wing to another end of the wing. We'd like to keep them on the same floor if possible and have the rooms literally right across the hallway from each other. Removing administrative duties from a home base. You know, we talk about relationship building. Even with our security monitors and our SRO, we talked a lot about safety and discipline and trying to remove that a little bit and replace it with relationship building. We want those folks to know our students. But if we move the administrative duties, you know, the dissemination of paperwork and permission slips and collecting money, we move it out of home base to free up our faculty and staff to just really take attendance, get to know the students, and move those tasks into our CCS period. So something that we are doing next year. Testing, we had a discussion at our faculty meeting about this. Just an outside view coming in, we do a lot of testing. And in my opinion, we do too much testing. So we talked about reducing it and rethinking the value of testing. What are we doing with it? Why do we need the midterms? Why do we need the final exams? But, you know, sometimes our academic day, we go modified schedule. We run a 2-hour delay schedule because all the kids are taking an exam for the first 2 hours of the academic day. And really having that tough discussion of, well, what if they don't pass that midterm? What if they don't pass that final? What happens? They go to the next grade most of the time. So what's the value of testing? What are we doing with it? Is it driving instruction? Are we looking at the data? Do we have common assessments, which for the most part we do, but we really have to had that discussion, the initial discussion of really removing that testing from grade 6. You want to give a midterm, you want to give a final exam, you give it during your 40-minute class period. That's enough rigor. 7th grade, maybe looking at increasing that rigor a little bit. In 8th grade, we've got enough required exams. We have the world language exams. We have kids taking earth science. We have kids taking algebra, which does have value to it. Not saying that the other exams don't, but for example, this week, we've got kids taking 2-hour exams in the morning for 3 consecutive days. The feedback we get from parents, not positive. Kids are stressed out. They're studying. They can't study for the next one. And it's really limiting the amount of time our teachers are spending teaching. They're assessing rather than teaching. So, you know, we are going to make some changes with that. Team meetings. Currently, our administrators meet with our teams on a Thursday And then the following Thursday, our guidance staff meet with the teachers, and we're combining it. So we're going to reduce the number of meetings that we have, but we'll go as a team. Our administrators will go with our guidance, and it'll just be every other week rather than having our teachers have to meet every single week. So we'll go as a group. Celebrating successes. I think we've done a pretty good job of that, but we're going to continue to work for that. We need to tell our own story. There's a lot of great things, and I've been in every building in this district except Green Meadow, I believe, and there's some awesome things that go on at Goff. Nobody knows about it. So there's a lot of people that are humble. They just go about it, but there's some great things that go on in that building. We didn't make sure that people are celebrating those successes. A couple of things that we are looking at pushing it to mixed gender phys ed classes. We do it in the elementary, K-5. The high school does it 9 through 12. We don't change for phys ed. Mr. Simons in the building check, for the next bond proposal. We looked at that. Our locker rooms need some work. So the kids aren't going in. They're not changing. A lot of the activities, we're doing summer curriculum work in phys ed this year. So the unit and the lessons can be modified with the goal of having mixed gender participation. We do it a lot anyway right now. But building aesthetics, signage in the building, plaques, we took all of the plaques down in the main hallway. Some of those plaques were last updated in 2007. Some haven't been updated since 2020. And I do see families come in and they want to see their brother or their sister's name on the plaque, and it's not on the plaque. So we're giving these awards. We're coming up on these awards on June 23rd. We need to make sure we fulfill our part and make sure that the plaques are up there. So we're cleaning it up. It's bad news to break to Wayne. I'm painting that blue. I don't know where you pulled that blue out of on the plaque wall. So we're taking all the plaques down, redoing the plaques, and updating the plaques to the current year. We are rethinking CCS, Common Core Support. When we're rethinking informational literacy. Informational literacy in grade 6 is married to that ELA, and it came about when the New York State assessments were coming out. Everything was heavy in informational literacy. We've moved beyond that, so we want to have that open a little bit more and more to teacher discretion on how they're using that additional ELA component. So we're working on that. And then last but not least, and very important, is strengthening our social emotional learning and our culturally responsive practices. And that's been the year in review. So any questions or comments that we could field for you?
So they have 4 halls at Shaker, and so they have a building principal for the whole building, and then each hall has a hall principal. So they're responsible for all the students in that hallway. They also have guidance counselors within their hall, and it's mixed, grade levels for each hall. So they have different names for them, and so that's how they structure their. It seemed like that's how it was. Again, they're bigger than Goff, so they have the 4.
We are changing our houses up a little bit, so we do have the benefit of having an additional assistant principal. So our red house is our 6th grade house. We'll have one of our APs there. Our blue house, Mr. Newman's been there. And then the greenhouse will also have a principal. So we'll have 2 of our social workers together in one house, 2 guidance counselors in another house, 2 guidance counselors in the other house. So we're moving people around a little bit.
Just a comment. So I want to thank the team and the participants for the work that they've done, the tremendous amount of information here that you shared with us today. And I know there's a lot of work that went in behind it. So I want to thank all the teams and your leadership of the administration and the teacher participation and the staff as well. Some of the things that I saw there really struck me about things we're doing very well, things we want to maintain, and things we want to look at to make what's best for kids and families. So I really appreciate that. I really would like to take this what's next slide and think about future planning as we look at our board goals, district goals, and our vision for what we want for our middle school, and really put those resources in that we can help to guide that process and continue the work that the team has put in. Just quickly, reactions from teachers, excitement, participating. Yay.
I mean,
Thank you.
all three of
I appreciate you
all three of our
staying.
teachers have attended, and the feedback
Yeah.
was great. People said it was the best professional experience that they've had since
awesome.
they've been in the field.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, the middle school does great work, and I think a lot of humble people, like I said, and a lot of things happen in those middle years that we don't hear about a lot, right? And we want to celebrate those things and just make it that gem, right? And through your hard work and the hard work of the team to bring those opportunities to all our students, because the challenges they face at that middle level are significant. Coming through elementary school, getting to middle school, prepping from high school, it's that kind of, you're in the middle and you're trying to keep that momentum going. So great job.
Just
John.
a couple, I took some notes, Jim. You ready?
sure.
Great. I think it's really good to go out and see, even if you only get one idea out of it, it's a trip well taken. And being forward thinking, and we're doing capital project work.
Exactly.
What I like is when you're thinking outside the box and developing new strategies along with the new technologies, like you talked about the classrooms, the evolving classroom. I really think that's a forward-thinking concept. So if in your mindset and world, be forward-thinking, because we're developing, there's some of these things that we can't do tomorrow, but we are planners here. And I think probably the greatest challenge in education is staying current and trying to stay ahead of the curve. The systems in the government are not very reactionary to the technology, and the world is evolving so fast that it's hard to keep up. I really love the idea of the teacher leader development, because I think the real component is we can put a lot of money into this stuff, but we need to give the students what they need, but we also need to give the staff what they need and be current and give them opportunities to develop on their own and encourage everyone to come up together rather than putting a money here and a money there and not connecting it. So I think your observations in that are really forward thinking. And I can't say that I would really love to see that level of participation with everybody, because we are a school community. The other thing, going back to the data, that it all comes down to the group that is creating a lot of issues for everyone to deal with. And nobody ever talks about the distraction factor that and these incidents that are happening. If we saw the correlations, the fighting at the end of the year and the absenteeism, all those stats showed an increase. And we're doing all these interventions, we're doing all these things, but there's something that is creating that. And you had touched on it with the chronic absenteeism and the thing. So I guess we need to challenge ourselves and come up with a real hard strategy to minimize the impact on the whole. I think you talked about the moving of students, because you can really isolate. And I think a lot of this stuff comes from social media and the phones. And I know we can't, run a jail, but we do need some hard, fast rules. And I think that's part of maybe next year, we as a district can say, okay, we've identified this as a serious problem for our students. And we are going to this level of, DEFCON, whatever. Your phone needs to be in the locker. It needs to stay in the locker. Period. End of story. Because that is the key. That connects all those bad behaviors, whether it's on a bus, when you guys think of the amount of your day chasing after school hours phone activity. The other component of this is develop a strategy within our district to bring the parents into the education forefront with social media. And I know it's not our job and it's any other thing, but it's becoming that. And maybe we can have some professional development for parents as to the do's and don'ts of social media, maybe a more active role on our websites and things like that. So those are just some of the thoughts through that, but I embrace the challenge along with you guys and get right out ahead of this and take it as far as you need to. And then we'll worry about Jeff and Linda. Well, Linda don't have to think about how we're going to and Roy. So thank you for your presentation. It was well thought. I like the backpack quote thing too. I think that's really good.
Thanks, Mike.
Thanks, Mike.
Anything else, Mr. Jones? Very good. So thank you for the presentation. We'll move on to our discussion items. The first thing is the pre-referendum construction management services item.
Yes, the district is in the process of working with our board and our community on our next capital project. Previously, I had a discussion with the board about the completion of the capital project, which was approved in 2017, will be completed this summer with the fire and smoke alarm system and some other items that just need to be wrapped up. So I think it was in December of this year at a meeting, we presented the building condition survey and the 5-year plan document. And at that time, we talked a little bit about the timeline for the next vote. Given where we're at now with the current project and the fact that we are recommending a shift in our architect through a process called our request for proposals, we want to ask the board to approve a short-term contract with a Chase Construction, not for the work that they're doing to oversee the current project, but for some of the pre-referendum planning that is required to get that referendum information organized and priced out appropriately so that we can bring that information to the board. We are currently, the architect is completing the work for the current 2017 project. We want to go out for an RFP for architectural services for the next project. We also want to go out for an RFP for construction management. This is more engaging the Chase in using some of their estimators and some of their folks that can help us drill down and come up with accurate cost estimates of all of those items that were on that document in December, and help package those items in such a way that we can bring an organized set of proposals to the board for consideration. So it's a short term. Linda has a timeline that she has thought about a little bit. We're hoping that if the RFP process works as we're planning it to, that process would be completed and we would have, by the end of the summer, identified our construction management firm to oversee the project and our architectural firm. But Linda has more specifics.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Simons. We plan to go out with a request for proposal for architectural services this Friday, June 9th. I've been working on the RFP. We will mail it out to a list of architectural firms that we have, and we'll also have it available to others. It will be in the Times Union as well. So on Tuesday, June 20th, we plan to have a pre-proposal meeting, which will be held at 1 o'clock in our board administration boardroom. Jeff Lewis, who is our district attorney from Ferrara Fiorenza, will be there, as well as Paul Bickle, our facilities director, to basically give an overview of what we've done in this current capital project and some of the things that we're looking to do, some of the major things that we're looking to do in our next capital project. And Jeff Lewis will be there to answer any technical questions that any of the interested architectural firms may have. And then those proposals will be due to us by June 28th. At that point, I will collect the proposals, create a rubric based on the criteria that's within the proposals, and then we'll have to set up interviews. I don't have that date yet. We'll have to set up interviews for the architectural firms that we'd like to speak to further. And then we Our plan right now is to bring it to the board on August 9th. That's for the architectural services. For the construction management services, that will be after Friday. I'll be working on the construction management RFP. Maybe we can get that out within a week or two following, so that we have those services lined up for next year.
We would like a board member to join us for both the pre-referendum, or excuse me, the pre-RFP meeting, and also to serve on the interview committees. So if there is a board member that's interested in doing that, we want to include you in the process. The pre-referendum contract for the Chase is a $15,000 agreement. It's a short-term agreement. They do understand that we are going out for an RFP for construction management services. They will likely participate in that RFP process, but this is separate and apart from anything that might occur for the next oversight of the project once it's gone to the voters.
The RFP meetings, are they held during the day? The commitment for the board member?
It is, the pre-proposal meeting is scheduled for June 20th,
Yep, so
Tuesday, June 20th at 1 o'clock.
Do you expect
in
the
our
follow-up
boardroom.
ones to be during the day as well? When we talk about,
The interviews,
Yeah.
we could probably do in the evening.
okay.
That date has not been set up yet.
Yep. Right. Any interest from the current board members? I mean, I'd like to participate. Scheduling might be a problem, but for the 20th, definitely would like to be on the RFP interview ones.
Okay,
If Mark as well. Is 2 board members okay?
That's fine.
absolutely.
So I'll make sure.
Mark, you're interested in the interviews?
In the interviews.
I may be able to do the 20th, have it 2 o'clock, but how long would the pre-proposal?
Well, I scheduled it for an
1 o'clock?
hour.
Okay.
I scheduled the room for an hour and a half, but
Okay.
it will depend on the interest.
I will try to make that if no one else can make it.
Yeah, I can't.
No. Okay. Take my lunch there, okay?
Okay.
One of
I'm close
the,
by.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. One of the benefits of the involving the Chase and the pre-referendum work is, I don't know if you recall the last referendum, as we were preparing it, there were some, the cost estimates that we think were a little low than what we actually were able to do within the project. So we just want to fine tune that part of the process a little bit better so that we have a more accurate projection. And that projection has to also include a cost escalation because the work won't actually start for a few years. When you include the SED review process and all of that. So it's really a check on the estimates so that when we're putting things together in the overall scope of a proposal, we have a pretty good idea that that work that's being told to the voters that we can do this work is going to be more spot on. Not 100%, but more spot on than what it was prior to 2017.
Questions?
Yes. So
Mark?
for this pre-referendum services with Chase, so they would also be putting in for the RFP that we're putting out there as well?
They have indicated that they would be doing that.
So there's nothing in the services that they would do beforehand where they would have any information or anything that would help them submit their RFP?
Not necessarily, because they're really it's a different group of folks than what is actually overseeing the project. And all they're doing is cost estimating. So they'll help fine tune the cost estimates for those items that are on that list. But that list to be given as part of to everybody.
So the list that they develop will be given to anybody that puts in an RFP?
Right.
Yes.
Well, it's really the list that we've developed, but we're just checking the cost estimates and making sure that the detail is there. And everybody gets that as part of the understanding of the pre-referendum,
That's
the
correct.
pre-bidding process, so that they know what they're getting into. So a large firm may say, yeah, we can handle this work. A small firm may say, No, that's too much for us, given what we got going on right
And
now.
that's part of why
Right,
they're
the
doing
actual-
those second, right?
Right. The actual building condition survey that was filed with SED in March is also part of the RFP. It will go out with the RFP.
Thank you.
Yeah, we don't want the chase of unfair advantage in the process. So just making sure that's clear and everybody has advantage.
They will know our district better because.
Oh,
we
yeah, of
work
course.
with
They've been here
them.
for
That's just-
decades, right? So that's the old San Ruben.
Yes.
Okay. Just making sure. And this will give us a little head start on things.
Absolutely.
Any other questions or concerns? And this item is on the agenda.
The pre-referendum construction management
Approval.
is on the
It's
agenda
on
for
the
approval.
consent agenda.
Yep. Oops. So you covered both discussion items there, Linda, pretty much? Is that what happened there?
Uh,
The request for proposals?
Yes, and
Architects and
the
construction.
next thing on there is the fire alarm system.
Okay.
And number 2.
So of A and B, any other questions on those two items? Seems like we have the process in place. I'll help out as best I can, and Mark will. And
Very good. Thank
I'm
you.
glad we're looking at the different, those two components. I think it's important to always take a fresh look and see what's out there and how we can benefit the district and the taxpayers. Okay. Next item is the fire alarm system installation plan number 2.
Yes, we put this on as a discussion item just to continue to make the board aware, and the board may have some questions about this. We shared a previous plan for what was happening currently till the end of the school year. HR Clune is replacing the fire and smoke alarm system in our schools now, but they're only working after school hours right now, and they're working on days and evenings when we don't have a lot of activities going on in the school. The current fire and smoke alarm system is being kept intact as the new system is being put in, and that will be the same in the summer. And as part of our agreement with HR Clune, they were putting in different additional smoke heads. So at no time is the fire and smoke alarm system not going to be operational, either now or in the summer. However, in order to do some of the work, the system needs to be put, the current old system, so to speak, needs to be put in a test mode. And when that system is put in a test mode, the automatic notification, if the alarm goes off to the alarm monitoring company, doesn't occur. So it will still ring in the building. People will know that the fire and smoke alarm is going off. People will still have to evacuate the building. However, it may be triggered by the work that HR Clune is doing. Under the agreement, HR Clune is responsible for notifying the fire department in the event that that happens. The building still has to be swept and make sure that everybody is out of the building during the summer months. We're limiting the access to the school during the summer. We have some 11-month employees and 12-month employees that report in the summer, approximately 15 to 20 individuals. We're going to identify really the special education wing down to the counseling office, and the administrative offices is the only location right now for the employees to be working out of. There's a process that we need to follow to make sure that people are signing into the building so we can account for everybody that's in the building. And so we are in need of an employee to serve in that role during the summer. And one of the other roles of that individual would be to, in the event that the alarm is going off, to make sure that everyone that's in the building is identified and told that they have to exit the building. That position is fire safety supervisor. When we started planning this, we thought we were going to need a lot more people to serve as, quote, fire watchers. But in working with the team, the fire department, Craig Hansen from Health and Safety at Questar, and the contractor, there's some things that the contractor was willing to do in terms of its means and methods, as well as some of its work, that we really only need someone to make sure that everyone is accounted for in the building, signing in and leaving. And so we're calling this position fire safety supervisor, but their role is really to sign people in and out of the building, make sure that the building is cleared in the event of a fire. But Clune serves in the main role of checking the panels and making sure that they know what triggered the alarm. So for example, if Clune is working in one area of the building and the alarm goes off in the area of the building they're working, they're pretty assured that what they did set off the alarm. But if the alarm goes off in a different area of the building that they're not working, then that's a situation where that's going to have to be investigated quickly. They're going to have to read the panels, find out what the source is, and call the fire department when necessary. So far, during the spring, we've had very few instances in which the alarm has gone off. I'll ask Paul Bickle to talk about that a little bit, talk a little bit about the planning that's gone into this. But basically, the alarm is operational at all times. It's just the automatic trigger to the alarm monitoring system isn't going to necessarily occur. But people will still have to leave the building in the event of a fire. Paul, you have anything to add?
Just with Plan 1, which is in place right now, till the 23rd, there were identified dates that such as warrant wire and other dates were identified, dates they could system in the test, and basically that was HR notifying myself that the system was going as I would send it, I send it a notification. It's been working very well. Same kind of situation. On the workout time was actually placed in the test. Have been first so far. This fire safety supervisor, Mr. Simon stated, somebody to kind of watch out for our employees. Always would be prepared. For gas. So basically, south tower, the teachers enter down through PPS, and all ending at guidance. Four classroom, right across from PPS, or designated. If 12-month employees or one employee come in and get some work done. Work. Right out. But we have to try to is take withdrawal position definitely necessary. For
There may be more than one individual, not at a time, but in this role, because it's been difficult to get people to work every day in the summer. And a lot of this will be predicated on the schedule of the CLUN. So we may have multiple people that are looking to fill the position and be able to do it certain weeks and not other weeks. So it may be more than one person doing it. But they basically need to sign in and sign out, understand their role. We train everybody at the beginning of the year with Jeff Tooker on how to operate a fire extinguisher. They need to know how to do that. They need to be aware of the fact that the alarm system may be accidentally triggered and gone off, but even in an accident, we're emptying out the building.
Okay. Questions? Mark?
A couple things. So one, we're expecting this person, when the fire alarm goes off, to not vacate the building, but go fight the fire with a fire extinguisher?
No.
No.
They still have to be trained to do it, though. We have to train to use it. They're going to basically, they're going to have a desk located near the entrance of the south hallway. They're going to be signing people in and out, and they're going to be basically sweeping the hall in the event that, you know, if there's somebody in the nurse's office, we got to get out, we got to get out, we got to get out, and exit. Everybody's going to be exiting out that way. It's just it's just a process to make sure that people are getting out of the building.
With the number of 10 or 11 and 12-month employees we have, administrators we have in the building, as well as our custodial staff, you know, is this position, and I don't know where we come up with $40 an hour for this person, you know, is it really needed? Is it, you know, something that we have to have? We can't use the main office for people to sign in, sign out.
Not everybody comes in every day in the summer, so there's not always an administrator here in the summer. We have 12-month administrators and we have 11+ month administrators. There's different people that report at different times during the summer, depending on their vacation schedules. So this is just one, I think it is needed because it's one designated person who serves in one role on that given day to take care of this in the event of an issue occurring. The $40 an hour rate was an honest discussion that Linda and I and others had in a compromise between trying to, we have employees that may have been interested in doing it, whose hourly rate is more than that. So we really didn't want to go hourly rate because the hourly rate would have been more than the $40 an hour for their regular hourly rate that they do in the summer. For example, our safety supervisors who may be interested in this, some of them make $42 an hour or $44 an hour. So this is a little bit less than that. Our senior monitors, some of them may be interested in doing this. Some of them make more than the $40 an hour or close to the $40 an hour. Some make a lot less than that. Some clerical employees may be interested in doing it, and maybe a teacher interested in doing it. And if we went with hourly rate, it could have been a range of different costs associated with it. So we try to come up with a dollar amount that would draw people to maybe want to do it from certain types of roles that were familiar with the building, the safety supervisors, the senior monitors, and at least one teacher that was in the building, and maybe some clerical folks that work in the building. So that's where the $40 came from. It was kind of a middle of the road amount between what they already make as their hourly rates range. And I do think having one person designated to do this is necessary because everybody else is doing other work and may not be in that day. And just to have one person says your role is to account for everybody that's in that building that day. And in the event that there's a fire, get everybody out. That's the role.
And you said you did, well, you mentioned Craig Hansen, our health and safety coordinator.
Yes.
Questar. And was his supportive of it?
He was involved in the planning. He reviewed the plan. I participated in a meeting with him when we did the spring plan. And again, at one point, we thought we were going to have a lot more people serving as fire watchers, but he clearly reinforced that it was the contractor's responsibility in general, and that we're getting more than what we actually districts typically get out of the contractor. So he reviewed everything. He signed off on everything, and he was involved in part of the discussions.
And Mr. Mann, I
Linda
specifically.
Linda was more involved in this than I was.
Yeah,
I'd like
I
Linda.
specifically asked that question as well. Do we absolutely have to have this? This was recommended to us by the fire chief of the East Greenbush Fire Department. But Craig Hansen indicated that yes, this is basically overall safety for our employees that are in the building. Employees will only be able to enter and exit that through that one door, and we are turning off access to the other high school employees so that no one is trying to get in any other doors or we're turning off the access during the summer, during the month of July. So, but he recommended this as an overall safety for our employees that are there on a daily basis.
Early on, when we were talking about the plan, they were talking about having somebody basically sit at every panel in the high school. But that turned out
24/7.
24/7. It turned out not to be necessary because the contractor is taking responsibility. And there were things that were the contractor added, such as the smoke heads and other things, and changed their way of doing work so that I think we're using existing conduit in some cases, but we're keeping the system. We're not disengaging the system that we have because they're putting extra smoke heads in for us.
Right, we're
And
putting
Craig thought we
up
were getting a
temporary
bargain from
smoke
that.
heads in the area of central receiving, maintenance, and some of the mechanical rooms. Otherwise, we would have had to have fire watch in that area. So we would have had to have somebody there all day long and all night long. But we're putting up those temporary heads in order to save on that cost.
And I do appreciate the information and I understand what's going on. Another issue that I take with this is that, we went out and posted and advertised, this position, prior to us even having this conversation and being able to get the answers to this. So,
I apologize for that. It was just a misstep on our part. I wasn't trying to.
I'm not looking for anybody to
No, I
apologize,
recognize.
just that, if we could, when we do these things, at least let the board, like present the plan and ask us questions because, prior to saying, oh, look, there's, job posted out there and, we didn't know anything about it.
Sometimes we get in a mode.
Yep,
We're just trying to move. I'm
No,
sorry
I
about that.
totally understand and I do appreciate it. Thank
Okay.
you.
Thank you.
So just the role here, I look at primary job, this person will sit outside S121 with a sign, who has a desk and a phone, and sit there with a clipboard and basically sign people in and out. And then, so how many employees were we talking about that are in the building at that time?
There's about 15 to 20 employees in the building on a regular basis.
Okay.
Those would be our 11 and 12-month employees.
Mhm.
There is also the health assessments for athletics has to take place. That's going on there as well.
Mhm.
So there's about 15 to 20 people.
Okay.
And then likely there will be people that come in and want to come in for different things and that they'll have to go through that, if a teacher wants to come in and retrieve something that they need, they'll have to come through that door and they'll have to sign
Yeah.
in and they'll have to be accounted for. But
Mhm.
when we're talking about
I'm
15
really
to 20 people,
discouraging that,
we're
though.
discouraging it, but it will happen and somebody needs to manage that.
Sure. Got it. And anything after 3:30 is prohibited?
At 3:30, the system will be back up and running. Now they can put the system in test for up to 8 hours,
Okay.
but it doesn't mean that the system is going to be in test every day for 8 hours. That's a schedule we're working out with Clune Electric. So it may not be that we need somebody there from 7 to 3:30, Monday through Friday.
Mhm.
But it's up to 8 hours a day.
So it's an as needed.
As needed, and we're working out that schedule. And actually, Mr. Bickle indicated to me today that they are running ahead of schedule. So that's all good.
It's always good, yeah.
The attempt here is so that we can get this fire alarm system installed and working by August 1st, because then we're starting up athletics and
Absolutely.
many other things.
Gotcha. Okay. Any other questions? All right. That concludes our discussion items. I had a quick sidebar with Roy and Linda about the regular business agenda. If we can do items except for the two on tenure, E and F, with the board's permission to do those by consent. So we would do A through D. No, I'm
A
sorry,
through C.
A through C, and then G and H and I. by consent if the board is okay with it. They will separate for the tenure D, E, and F. I got it? Board members? Sound good? All right. So I need a motion to approve A, B, C, G, H, I. John, second Mark, all those in favor? Approved. And then separate votes for item D first. Need a motion to approve that if there's no questions on tenure. Joanne, second. Cheryl, all those in favor? Approved. Item D, resolution on teacher tenure. Motion. Mark, second. Cheryl, all those in favor? Approved. And then the TA tenure, item F. Need a motion to approve that. Joanne, second. John, all those in favor? Approved. Thank you, everyone. So everything's done in that section, right? Okay. Thought I'd move that along for us if there was no comment or questions on those items. Committee reports. We'll start with Marissa.
Thank you, Mr. Buno. The assistant principal position at Goff Middle School, that posting closed and we had 68 candidate applications. Mr. McHugh and I reviewed those applications and we are inviting 13 individuals in for an interview on June 15th and June 16th. We have several teacher vacancies. Art teachers, we have 2, one for Goff Middle School and one that's split between DPS and Belltop. We conducted those final interviews and we are going to be recommending appointments at the June 21st board meeting.
So we need a quorum.
Yes.
And it's Kathleen's last meeting, so make sure everybody's there.
June 21st?
June 21st.
Yeah, I will not be here.
Darn, okay.
The CSE chairperson position, that application deadline was today, June 7th. So Mr. Coyle's office is going to be beginning to review those applications tomorrow with Mrs. Harrington. We have 5 elementary teaching positions. 3 of them are at Red Mill Elementary, 2 at DPS. The final interviews for the Red Mill positions will be conducted on Monday the 12th, and Mr. Elvey is working on his building level interviews currently. We also have an elementary teacher at the 6th grade level at Goff Middle School. That application deadline is June 9th. We have several other vacancies in Mr. McHugh's building. We have an English teacher, math teacher, social studies teacher, and also a social worker and special education teacher. So Mr. McHugh is going to be hard at work with me this summer. In addition to that, our reading teaching position closed at the high school. Mr. Harkin has been reviewing those applications with me, and that posting resulted in 7 candidates. So that was a little bit on the low side. Our special education position at DPS does need to be reposted. We did not find a successful candidate, and we are going to be conducting special education interviews at Green Meadow next week for final interviews. And Sarah Huffman and I conducted teaching assistant interviews this afternoon, and we do have a candidate to recommend for hire at our next meeting. In terms of the non-instructional vacancies, Dr. McQueen and I are continuing to evaluate our recruiting efforts, and we have now just a constant recruitment for bus drivers. We currently have 7 vacant bus driver positions, but we have 8 individuals currently being trained who have gone through the interview process. So Wanda has set those individuals up with designated key personnel in our transportation department, and they're working on getting their permit. They're working on the number of hours they need to take that road test. And we have 1 individual that should be ready to take their test mid-June. We do have 2 vacant automotive mechanic positions. I've been in touch with Hudson Valley Community College. They have an automotive mechanic program. So we're trying to work with the department chair there to get some interested graduates to come join our team here in East Greenbush. And then lastly, we just completed our bus aid interviews earlier this week. For our custodial worker positions, we are having a little bit of difficulty recruiting for our 3rd shift custodial worker at Columbia High School. So we are going to be reposting that. The educational technology specialist, we conducted final interviews with Mr. Stiles and Mr. Goodwin, and we do have a candidate to recommend at the next meeting. We have a network technician vacancy that's opening due to retirement. Those interviews at the building level are being conducted currently. And then we have several monitor positions, typist positions, and lastly, our payroll specialist is leaving for a promotional opportunity in another district. That application deadline is tomorrow. So a lot going on in the hiring and recruiting world. Does anyone have any questions?
Thanks, Marissa.
I have none.
Linda,
this time.
thank you. Roy?
Sure, thank you, Mr. Buno. So we had a professional development committee meeting on May 22nd. I'll just go over some of the kind of highlights and key points from that. Had a discussion regarding our 2023-24 professional development plan, making sure that that plan is aligned to our district goals of being future-driven education, making sure we're having professional development on critical thinking skills, authentic learning, and project-based learning, being whole learner focused around academics, social emotional learning, behavioral trauma-informed professional development, and also we talked a lot about making sure we're providing professional development for our teaching assistants in that area. And then also continuing our professional development on safety, inclusivity, and diversity. We had a little bit of a discussion regarding some initial planning for next year, our professional development and superintendent's conference days. And then we really talked about for our full day professional development days on November 1st and March 15th, really having a good plan and continuing some embedded work that we started this year at the K-5 level, especially around ELA, and making sure that it's a cohesive plan throughout the year, not having those kind of one-hit situations, really having a plan, throughout the whole year. And then we talked about, utilizing some of those 2 half-day professional development days that we have scheduled, and supporting data team meetings, having some more building specific professional development or grade level meetings. And then in the future, really trying to make sure that we have those half-day PD days scheduled around when we're giving some of our universal screeners, so that we have up-to-date and current data for our teachers to be able to look at on those days. And then some of the priorities that we touched upon were, continued instructional best practices, our continued work on the science of reading, project-based learning and authentic learning, social emotional learning, which would include restorative practices, like I said earlier, embedded professional development support and zones of regulation, and then making sure we have some targeted professional development for our teaching assistants around de-escalation techniques. We discussed with computer-based testing beginning next year, making sure we're providing professional development regarding that, and EduElastic, which is a new program that we are purchasing to support the computer-based testing, and then training with our special education department around FBAs and BIPs, different ways that we can address student attendance. And then with next year being our 3rd year using Renaissance, really looking at the different reports that we can get with a Renaissance Star, and making sure that, teachers are getting trained on, how they can utilize those reports to help guide their instruction.
Any questions for Roy? Just building on the presentation from earlier, we incorporate some of the ideas and suggestions and things that we talked about here as support to make sure that we include some of those components. Okay. Okay. Thanks. And Jeff.
I have no committee reports.
Thank you. All right. Moving on the agenda. Table motions. Anything? Nothing. Not this time. All business board members. Anything? No. Okay. We now have our consent agenda, items A through H, which includes the athletics, which is great, and some gifts and things like that. Anything, questions or comments? Joanne.
Letter B for a separate vote.
Letter B for a separate vote. Who's on there?
Steve.
Oh, okay, sorry. Coaching, so got it.
Mr. Buno, I just want to
Yes.
comment on item letter F. You mentioned the athletic approval. We did win the game to be seated in the New York State Public High School Athletic Association Final Four championships.
Great.
Our varsity baseball team is scheduled to travel Friday evening to University of Binghamton to play at 5 o'clock against a team from Long Island, I believe. If they win, they play at 1 o'clock on Saturday. So this was put on the agenda, being optimistic that they would win that game, and they did. And Ryan Jones informed me yesterday that we also do have 3 athletes who qualified for the state championships in track.
Great.
So we were good about being optimistic.
Nice.
I can't tell you what the names of the 3 athletes are, but they are qualifying for those state championships and will be competing in those state championships. And hopefully the index for the air quality will go down and they won't cancel those.
Great. Can I make a suggestion, Joanne, based on your comment? Can we move Steve's appointment to a different meeting? If you don't vote on that item B, we won't have any approvals.
Sure, we'll move it to the 21st.
Can we do that? Is that okay, board members? So that way we have a full consent agenda. Pull that one for the 21st. Good, okay, thank you. Because otherwise I'm like, oh, wait, we don't have Joanne, we have no item B. So let's do that. So we've pulled that particular coaching appointment. So any other questions on the consent agenda? Yeah, you got to know that for next week, next meeting. Seeing none, need a motion to approve the consent. John, second. Joanne, all those in favor? Approved. Thank you very much. No addendums, correct? New business, board members, anything? No, good. Public forum? Nobody? No? Okay. Just a wave. Board forum, I'll start on my left with Cheryl. Good. Mark, good. Joanne, I have 2 things. Helen, thank you. Great job with the Red Mill issue. The team, appreciate all the support. And that happened with the children and moving them, getting back and batting session. So very good to hear about that. Jim, thank you very much for another year with golf team. Much appreciated. Your dedication, care for students and community comes through, shining colors. And I really appreciate you taking that on challenge. And I just want to recognize you for that. So thank you very much. And again, good luck to our sports participants, athletics. We're preparing for graduation soon and everything, all those activities. Be safe out there, and let's have a great end to the school year. So with that, no need for an executive session tonight. Need a motion to adjourn. Joanne, second. Mr. Mann, all those in favor? Approve. Have a great night. Thank you, everyone.